Hey yo guys, how you doing? This is LAF, Lukas, Adam, and Friends review. Today we're talking about It Chapter 2. This is the sequel to 2017's It remake. We're here with my guest Steve from the Film Fan Reviews.
Hey, what's up?
For some reason I thought you were going to go longer than that.
Oh.
Alright, so now, first of all, I just want to say I love the first movie. I think horror is very subjective. And I don't even have a clown fear per se, but that's my scariest movie of all time.
The first one?
Yes. To me, just there were so many cool, vivid, scary images and moments, and it's just so weird and creepy that to me I've never been more scared since The Conjuring, which is what really got. Which it means a lot to me because it's hard for me to get really scared.
Yeah.
In a horror movie. How do you feel about the first It?
Well, I'm going to actually take it back a little further to the 1990 miniseries.
Mm-hmm.
That is my first encounter with it.
That's the Tim Curry one?
Correct.
Okay.
And that was my first encounter, and as a child, I was scared shitless of Tim Curry's Pennywise. I saw it just flipping through channels one day, and then my dad was actually watching it another time. It scarred me for life as a kid. I was scared of both clowns and ventriloquist dolls as a kid.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, that really tore me up until I actually read the novel and then actually fell in love with the 1990 miniseries too. But It 2017, I absolutely love that movie. I was so excited when it came out, saw it opening day. And yeah, it's definitely one of the better horror movies of the past few years and one of the highest grossing R-rated films.
Oh yeah, it is. Oh yeah, it's R-rated. That's nice. I have not seen the Tim Curry It.
We'll fix that.
And I have not read the book. And I don't think I ever will. That's a very long book.
It's a very long book. I've read it, I've never sat down and fully read it once all the way through. I actually own the audiobook too on my phone. Mm-hmm. But I've always read it in pieces and stuff like that. So I know a lot about it, and I've done so much research because it's one of my favorite stories of Stephen King's of all time. It's The Shining and then It, right in the same area.
Okay. By the way, this is spoilers. We're just gonna talk about spoilers.
Yeah, I mean,
if you haven't seen the movie, watch the movie.
I'll give you a plug. I'll give myself a plug right now. If you want a spoiler-free review, Film Fan Reviews, there's an It Chapter 2 review up there. Go check it out. There'll be a spoiler one too soon. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah. So, all right, go ahead. First impressions of It Chapter 2.
So, going into this movie, I actually got to see an early screening of it on Wednesday before it came out. And I was very excited, but also very worried because the first one, although I love it, they left out some things from the book, and Andy Muschietti promised that there would be more to the book in this new one, and I think he delivered tenfold. I mean, there was so much from the book, and they kind of changed stuff up a little bit, because if they would have went straight with the book, the movie would have been 4 or 5 hours, because there was a lot of mythology and different things they could throw in there. But I think he crafted such a really, really solid story with the casting especially was perfect. Those kids felt like they grew up to be these adult actors. That's my favorite part of the movie, but I think he got everything from the book pretty solid, and I've enjoyed myself. I've seen it twice already. Plan on seeing it again, probably even this weekend.
Mm-hmm. Now, the only thing I know from the book that's left out is the orgy scene, because everyone jokes about that.
Well, that was in part one, and I'm really happy that didn't happen, because it was the children having an orgy.
That would be really weird. What else did I know is missed out? Okay, so I came into this movie and I was the most anticipated thing for me is the turtle. I don't know what the hell it is, but I just know that there's something to do with the turtle.
See, I don't know too much about the turtle. I need to go deeper in that, but the turtle is a thing that it was almost it had wisdom and knew about the actual being of it, because it isn't actually a clown. It's just the 3 deadlights. Yeah. And apparently the turtles, apparently it has stuff to do in the Dark Tower series and stuff like that. The turtle crosses over in different Stephen King stories. I think it may even have, people said that it has some type of connection to The Shining and stuff like that too, but I'm not sure about any of that. But turtle is a very popular thing for all the Stephen King world building. Okay.
And so when I saw, I think it was Ben's flashback, with they open up on the teacher's desk and it's just a giant turtle. I was like, yeah, that's my turtle.
I mean, it's the same in the first movie in 2017
Legos.
In Georgie's room or whatever, or it might be in Bill's room, I can't remember, but there's a little Lego turtle and everything like that, and they talk about when they're swimming.
That goes by their leg when they're
swimming.
swimming.
When they're swimming in the
Okay. I did kind of want them to just go balls to the wall and just have a giant CG turtle.
I think the only reason Andy Muschietti and probably Warner Brothers probably had this conversation, people that don't know about that kind of stuff and don't really care about the mythology, they just want to see creepy, scary clown stuff, probably would have not been down for that, and then we would have been even longer. So that's probably the big reason. But
and it makes sense. Like it's like in Infinity War, which is not this is not the first time I'm going to draw connections to Infinity War, but I read the comic Infinity War, so I wanted death. I really did. That was my favorite part about it, was how he's obsessed with death. I thought that was really interesting, and I think they adapted it well for the movie. But and when I thought about it, I was like, just like you said, there must have been a studio conversation where they were like, that would be a little bit much, you know. And so I'm happy that they changed it. But then again, I would just love to see just a giant turtle. So you love this movie?
I did. On my review on YouTube, it's a 5 out of 5 stars for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first one is too. I think together, Andy Muschietti's actually already talked about cutting them together, and that would make me very excited.
Oh yeah, I heard they're making a supercut of the first and second one, and it intercuts the adults and the children's stories.
The same thing. Andy said that they were going to put out a director's cut, which I don't think he was lying about, but I don't think Warner Brothers was on board right away of the first movie. There's going to be a director's cut released on Blu-ray and stuff like that, but it never happened.
Yeah, it was.
So I think this might actually happen, and if it does, I would be first in line to get a copy of it.
Yeah, I would watch. I wouldn't watch it all together, like a 7-hour movie. I would more watch it in bits.
Same thing as the miniseries. To watch it fully sitting down, both parts, it's like 3.5 hours.
Jesus Christ.
Because it was 2 nights, hour and a half each, or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Or no, 2 hours each, both commercials.
See, the group I watched it with did not like it as much. And I was the one who liked it the most. But I feel like in this review, I'm going to be the one that didn't like it as much. Because I liked it. I think it's fine.
Are there problems? Yes. And I fully accept that there are a little bit, but I can overlook them.
It's good. It's just good. My favorite part is just that this movie really banks on you loving and knowing really well these characters.
And that's me.
And you've read the book and seen all the movies and everything. I love the first movie, and I've seen this movie, so and I love those characters, and that's my favorite part of the first one too. So I enjoy it in that way. It's nowhere near as scary as the first one.
See, and that's actually where I disagree with a lot of people too. I didn't get as scared as much in the first one, but there were actually moments that creeped me out in this one. Specifically with Pennywise under the bleachers. Very creepy moment. Just ignore
it. So basically...
it's a package.
It is a package. I was like, what do we do? What was I saying? That scene, I like that scene with the little girl with the blemish on her face.
Well, that scene as well as, crap. Anyway, there were a couple scenes in there. Oh,
with the gay kid.
Not even that.
The stream.
Well, that is actually a major moment in the book. We'll get back to that.
Okay.
But just I felt more like Pennywise, especially his drooling and everything like that he was doing multiple times. Oh, the funhouse scene actually.
Funhouse scene was very good.
That surprised the hell out of me. But yeah, just those like him like salivating and stuff like that. Like I was way more freaked out by him in this movie than I was the first one. The Georgie scene in the first one, perfectly done. But I felt he felt like Pennywise himself was more creepier in this movie.
See, that's the thing. I didn't feel like there was as much Pennywise, or even if there probably was more screen time actually, but like I didn't feel him as much as I did the first one. Because that scene with the girl with the blemish, right?
Yeah.
That seemed to mirror the scene with Georgie in the beginning of the first one. And the scene with Georgie in the beginning of the first one is such an iconic scene that really hits. And this is just a part. There's a good part, a very good part, but like it was nowhere near the impact of sucking Georgie into the
Very true. Skarsgård had more... Actually, I'm pretty sure I don't know if this is a fact or not, but I'm pretty sure Skarsgård had more dialogue in Chapter 2 than he did in Chapter 1. Screen time, I think he might have been a little bit more in the first one, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But dialogue especially, and him actually being able to be more physical and stuff like that, happened a lot more in the second one.
I did love the gay kid scene when he's like coming up and down out of the water, and then you just see Pennywise like extending his hand to help him out.
So yeah, Adrian Mellon. This was a scene, and it goes a lot deeper in the books. And there are, like, there's a lot of references to homosexuality in the book of it.
Mm-hmm.
And actually the character in the book that I'm pretty sure they kind of hinted at being gay was not Richie.
It was the other one, Eddie.
It was Eddie, yes. And they even kind of hinted at that in the miniseries, I think, a little bit. But yeah.
Yeah,
and
I would have rather it been Eddie.
I think it worked better, especially with the casting of Bill Hader, which we'll get into that too, because it's my favorite casting of the whole movie. But I think Bill Hader is the better actor to be able to handle that type of story, and it almost fit more of him being like a comedian and kind of just trying to like shove everything down, and like 'cause there were even hints of it like before they even started talking about any of the gay stuff of him. Everyone's like, oh yeah, Richie never got married, blah blah blah, and they were like kind of teasing about it, and it was just that kind of thing that it just worked better because. The Eddie thing with his mom, which
oh yeah, how his wife was basically his mom.
Well, it was the same. It was the same actress.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
So and that kind of thing, it really worked really well. And it's just stuff like that. Like, I'll go back to Bill Hader right now.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Hader made me laugh the entire runtime of this movie. Like, at first when he was cast, I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. But at the same time, I was like, I love Bill Hader so much, and especially after his show Barry on HBO. Which, if you haven't been watching, please do that, because it's an amazing show.
I haven't even heard of Barry, actually.
It's one of the best shows on HBO right now. But he just has that comedic role so well, but he also... he's done other dramatic stuff that I haven't seen yet, but he's just such a really solid actor. That in that role especially, it just felt like he did that perfectly.
I'll agree Bill Hader did steal the show. And now I think it made more sense, because I'd rather... I like the whole Eddie with his mom thing. And everything with Richie and his character, like he felt like the protagonist of this movie, to me.
Richie did?
He had the most to do. He had the most going on. He stole the movie. That's what everyone's said.
Well, yeah, I agree that he stole the whole movie, but I mean, I still really love James McAvoy, but I almost felt like Beverly was more of the protagonist than anybody.
Yeah.
She was kind of the driving force of everyone sticking around and all of her memories and stuff like that, all of her visions of everybody dying and stuff like that. She was definitely the most important, like, other than Mike, who kind of got overshadowed once again from the first movie.
Yeah. He had more to do in this one. I liked him more here.
And it's the Old Spice guy. It's like the best part. He's in the Old Spice commercials.
Oh, wow.
He like hasn't. I haven't seen I personally haven't seen him in anything else except for It Chapter 2 and the Old Spice commercials.
That's great. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a lot of fun. I think James McAvoy did fine. He did good. Jessica Chastain was underwhelming, I'll say. The guy who played Ben was good, I guess. But the best ones were obviously Bill Hader, and then I liked the guy who played Eddie.
Debbie So-and-so from Sinister.
Is he really?
Yeah, I love that guy. Like, the riffing back and forth between those two, I could have watched that all day. Like, the dinner scene in the Chinese restaurant.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was good.
That was one of my, that was a scene that had to happen that way, but it happened way better than it did in any way I could picture it in the book, and especially the miniseries. It worked so well, and just those two in there just making fun of each other was perfect.
And obviously, I think we can both agree, what's his name? Skarsgård. Bill Skarsgård. It was great.
I liked him even more than I did in the first one.
No, again, like everything with Pennywise, I was like, oh, it was better in the first one. I just thought he was much more impactful and much better. And even, I swear, you're right. I think he did talk more in this one. I think he had more screen time in this one. But I felt less of his presence in this one.
And this one was less about Pennywise because, we already know who he is, so we don't have to really focus on him as much. We need to know more about... And I wish they, that's my major downfall of this movie is the beginning. Mm-hmm. It felt like we fast-forwarded through all of their lives. We don't really know anything about them being adults. We just had to jump right to Derry and find out what's going on there.
Oh, we didn't get to actually... it was still way too long.
I disagree with that wholeheartedly.
No, well, that's the thing. It didn't feel too bad for me. I was fine with it. Everyone else was like, oh my god, this is annoyingly long. But I thought it was fine. But still, I was okay with them skipping everything and just being... Because, I got caught up. Oh, Bev, life is a cycle. She's, with an abusive man in her life. Eddie's stuck to his mom. Richie is a lone Joker. Like I thought that was fine. I didn't need to see any more of their lives.
I just like that's one thing that they do in the book. That's one thing they do in the book where they kind of show you more about what they're all doing. So you actually feel like you just have to go off of what the little kids did in the first movie, basically, and just assume they're still the same people, which a lot of times in real life that does not happen. A lot of people change as they become adults.
Yeah.
But I agree. But I just felt like it just happened a little bit too fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only thing, because honestly, still, seeing it twice, I thought maybe it would have felt longer because I was expecting everything. It flew by for me again.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is one thing with this runtime that people get all freaked out. Oh my god, it's almost 3 hours long. It felt like an hour and a half to me.
Actually, I want to bring up my main point here, and I brought up Infinity War earlier.
Yes.
And I felt in it Chapter 2, I felt the exact same way that I felt about Infinity War and in Endgame. That the first one was a better, more focused and complete movie, with a villain that kicked ass and was present and everything. And then the second one was long, it was overbloated, it was just chucked with fan service, and the villain kind of got lost to me a little bit. And it's still good. Like, I love Endgame, but I like Infinity War more. I think Infinity War is just a better, tighter movie.
With that argument, I agree wholeheartedly about Infinity War and Endgame. This one, I don't... Like, I understand, and it's just because I am one of those hardcore fans.
There's a little bit of bias here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I know everything that they can do. I know everything that's there for the story.
Mm-hmm.
And just, I think they got so much of it right. Like, especially like some of the CGI in this movie was a bit heavy and a bit goofy at times, especially Mrs. Kirsch in her apartment. That looked kind of goofy to me.
Oh, no. See, that's the thing. I heard about that. The CGI being a little bit obvious, but especially that scene. I liked that scene. I thought
she looked kind of goofy, but the stuff inside the restaurant, people kept saying looked kind of weird. I loved all that stuff. The little baby head coming off the little thing. It was like creepy as hell. I was like, that looks cool. But
stuff is more weird than creepy, which is fine. I still enjoy it, but like.
Well, even with that, it's almost the one thing that from the book that I was talking to another buddy in line that actually read the book too. We were talking about certain scenes that we wanted to see, and the one scene that I wanted to see really badly was the lumberjack chasing after Richie, and they did it.
Oh yeah.
And I was so happy that they did it. So many people are probably going to be like, yeah, that was stupid. It looked all CGI and dumb. It was so exciting to see because that's something I wanted to see that I knew they couldn't do in 1990 with any stuff they had back then.
Oh, did they not do it?
No, this has never been done. It's only in the novel. This is the first time that it's been seen.
Yeah, no, I
Other
like
than
that.
it was crazy.
I thought it was good. I did like. I think my favorite part about that scene was when Pennywise is like talking about how he's gay, how Richie's gay, not Pennywise is gay, and then everyone in the background is like swaying. Like, I thought that was really creepy.
Yeah, that added to the creep factor, definitely. And that's one of the things that I really liked about Pennywise more in this one, is that we get to see him more. And he was almost like, other than just like straight up attacking them, he was teasing them more than anything and making them remember who he was. Because a lot of them were still at that part especially, we're still trying to remember what happened in their childhood. So seeing him tease them and like everything like that, instead of actually just trying to kill them right away, I feel like it added to him being even scarier than he was. Like, yes, the first one is scary because they were children, and that's part of the reason why it's not as scary in this one, is because who really cares?
Mm-hmm.
They're all adults, they can just leave.
Yeah.
But it's just that kind of thing where I think he was able to like tease them more and just kind of mess with them rather than actually killing them right offhand.
Yeah, because I was with someone for the end. And someone was like, my friend was like, oh, I didn't like the ending. I just thought that was dumb. Like, they just yelled at him and he went away. And I'm like, oh, that's more of the themes and the story. You know, like, it's all about bullying and, like...
Well, and the being of it being the Deadlights, it lives on people's fear of them. So they kind of had to come together and basically decide that it wasn't what it was. So they basically made it to what they wanted it to be, and then they killed it. So they made him human because they weren't scared of it anymore. Kind of like an adult growing up and conquering their fears.
Which, I get why a general audience would watch that and be like, oh, that was kind of dumb. Like, they were just kind of like, you're mean, we don't like you.
Literally, the book is like a coming-of-age type story of all of these kids that were tortured, teased, everything like that, overcoming and defeating their demons. So
that's why I got that.
Well, and part of that story is from Stephen King defeating his addiction to drugs and stuff like that. And it was kind of like that. It was kind of him defeating his demons with this book.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why this story kind of happened. That's what Pennywise and all that kind of stuff, I'm pretty sure, is what came from anyway.
Mm-hmm. Another connection I want to bring up is this felt like... Oh yeah, whereas I said that it felt like Endgame in a bad way, I think it felt like X-Men Days of Future Past in a good way. Bringing the old cast and the new cast together and having it work, I thought that was really special. I thought it was more special in that movie because that was like, how the fuck did they do that? But this one, it was like, it was set up and it made more sense, and they pulled that off very well. I think that was the best.
It made you realize too that the casting was done so well. Like, especially Eddie and Deputy So-and-so from Sinister, when he goes into the pharmacy and they do that kind of dissolve match cut type thing of him walking into that. That is such a hard thing to do, and the way they look, they did it so perfectly because he literally looks like an adult version of that kid. Yeah. And that's why it was so cool to see them do that. And like, I'm gonna go off a little bit here for a minute though, but the cameos of Stephen King and then Andy Muschietti. Andy Muschietti was actually in there too in the background.
Oh, where was he?
He was in the background in the pharmacy scene.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He was like looking at like a box or something like right behind Eddie. Like you could see him like
right
nice. Over his left shoulder. Yeah.
I know Bogdanovich was the director at the beginning.
Yeah.
And that was nice.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know who that is, but I know that that's someone, and I looked it up and I was like, yep, that's the director. Who else was it? I liked how you saw all the people, like the same pharmacist guy and the bully girl who worked in the pharmacy. Who else? How they brought the bully back. I didn't really get it very much. Did he kill his dad?
Yeah. Yeah, in the first movie, he like puts the knife right into his neck. Yeah. And actually,
I didn't finish. I watched the first movie, like the first act and the second act, but I didn't watch the third.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And in the deleted scenes that I'm pretty sure Andy wanted to put back in the director's cut, he kills all of his friends too.
Oh wow.
Like in that car or whatever, he kills the rest of them other than the one that died in the sewer, and then goes and tries to kill the kids.
Oh, okay. All
so
right.
I don't know if that's technically canon or not in this, but it almost seemed like it might have been. Okay. Because he came back all bloody and all that kind of stuff, and obviously insane.
That makes more sense. I like that more now. He was just kind of really weird. Like I know he was just a crazy dude, but like that's the thing. Like that's not as scary. You know,
well, yeah,
he was scary in the first one when he was just like an insecure bully.
He was definitely my least favorite part of there's a couple things that was one of my downfalls too. Mm-hmm. Henry Bowers is more sinister than he is in this movie. They basically just like, oh, he's just a crazy dude. Yeah. He'll just come at you with a knife, you stab him and it's over. Yeah. Like he felt very weak to where in the first movie he was this second antagonist other than Pennywise to these kids. Whenever Pennywise wasn't around, they were getting tortured by this dude.
Yeah, I almost saw it as like a metaphor.
Yeah.
Like Pennywise isn't actually like it's just a personification of.
Well, and that's part of like Pennywise had a hold of him because he realized that was happening too. So he kind of just like used Henry as part of him being.
Vessel, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was really great. Yeah, this movie's really funny. There's a lot of great character moments. I just really enjoyed it. Like you said, watching these characters just hang out and have their issues and interact with each other. I thought that was the best part of the movie.
They definitely, the adult actors, I'd be very surprised if they said otherwise. It seemed like they definitely studied that first movie, knew exactly how those characters acted, and personified that into their performances. Because they felt like, I can't think of one that didn't feel like the exact same person 27 years later. Because they all felt like that. Like James McAvoy maybe a little bit, but other than that, I think everybody pretty much seemed like the same exact person.
Yeah, I thought the cast was really good. I think there's a lot of. I like this movie, and I think there's a lot of good, really good things.
This makes this better.
But I just. I think the first one's just better, like significantly better.
I'm gonna say right now, a lot of people will probably be on your side rather than mine.
Mm-hmm.
Because yes, the first movie, I've rewatched that movie in the past couple months, like 3 or 4 times before this one came out. Because I adore that movie too. But this one I just felt like was more for me. Like it might not have been for everyone, and I thought that going out too. It's not gonna be a movie that everyone, especially with the smoke scene and stuff like that, of him seeing all the visions. That's another thing that they did like as a group instead of Mike just basically dosing Bill and making him see all those visions.
Yeah.
But I felt like they handled that really well too, because they could have went in really deep and really nerdy to where people have been like, "Is this a horror movie anymore or what?" But I felt like they attacked that very, very well, and I felt like that was going to be a thing that may have turned some people off. But I haven't really heard that being a turn off for anybody just yet.
Yeah, no, that was fine. A lot of people someone was complaining about there not really being a plot. And that was fine with me. I was just okay with, because it was just them all finding their tokens, I guess. And so it was a flashback.
Well, it was more of them. It was more of them trying to remember, because when you leave Derry, that's the main thing too.
Yeah. They
don't remember a thing.
And I like the flashbacks of like the day they left, like that they all went apart. They like had their own little encounter with Pennywise, and that's how they have a token. So I like.
Well, that was actually between them going to the Nebo house at the end, and them all fighting. Like it was between the Nebo house and them going down to the sewers to fight him at the end. All that stuff happened like when they were separated.
Yeah, the one thing I did think that was weird was that they're all clearly older.
Yeah.
Which, that's fine. I heard there's like some CGI changes.
Well, they did the de-aging stuff like Marvel's been doing lately in some other movies. And it was, when I was watching it, I knew it the first time. The one you notice it on the most is Finn Wolfhard, because he like grew up so much within the past couple of years. He's taller. It just looks really like, that's the main thing, that he looked really done up. But the rest of them, like, the only thing that I noticed a little bit was like their voices just sounded like Jack Dylan Glazer, who is Eddie. He sounded like he had a deeper voice now and everything like that.
He's the best.
But in all of their scenes when they were just going off each other, like in the clubhouse and stuff like that, didn't care. I was just having fun with them again.
Yeah, I love that part. It was weird because like Jack Dylan Grazer was just kind of being a dick with the whole thing. And I was like, that's not really him, but I don't care. I'm still enjoying this part. That's fun. I imagine he was a dick at some point.
Eddie was like, he was a dick, but he was also like the guy that would be like the caretaker too.
Yeah. Stanley not being in it. I like the reason why, like at the end with his note and everything. I thought that was bittersweet.
Well, that's a major thing too. It was a centrifugal
force for them to come together.
He actually kills himself. Like, you know that he kills himself way before they even really talk to anybody else too. Like, actually in the miniseries, Stanley is dead at the end of part 1.
Oh yeah.
Because they like mix in, because the book also does this a little bit too, where they like flash back a lot, and the same thing in the miniseries. They'll do like, this is a childhood scene, we're going to jump ahead to the future, because it actually starts in modern day at the beginning of the miniseries. And there's a lot of flashbacks and stuff like that, and you jump back and forth. So that's why the movies are a little bit different. I think they were done much better. But yeah, it's just that kind of mixed up, which they kind of played with a little bit in chapter 2. They went back and forth with the flashbacks and stuff like that, but not to the same extent as that.
No, I do want to bring up, I heard some girl talking about it who obviously read the book, so I want to get her opinion. She was like, oh, it's like if Harry ended up with Hermione at the end of Harry Potter. And I'm like, no, I saw Ben getting with Beverly the whole time.
No, yeah, there's hardcore, like, they make it very obvious that from right off jump when they're on the steps and he's holding his little tower thing or whatever, the thing downtown. And he's holding that little model and everything like that. And they're like, she's just kind of casually, a little bit flirty with him.
Yeah.
And just like, and it was pretty obvious that they had that little type of relationship.
James McAvoy was already married to someone, which they didn't go anywhere with that. That was just kind of a weird scene how he's bad at ending books.
I kind of wish she wouldn't have even been in the movie, because they play more into that in the miniseries especially, which, goofy shit in that. I don't want to talk about that, but I'm happy they didn't try to dive too much into that. But at the same time, I can understand why people were like, why isn't Bill and her together, blah, blah, blah. Because they probably forgot about the wife because she's in it for 2 minutes. Where in the miniseries, she's in it a decent amount. Not as much as the rest of them, but she's in it a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's in the book, too. I haven't read the book in a while, so I could be wrong. But she plays more of a factor in the book, to where in this movie, yeah, she's pretty much forgotten about, and she does not play a factor in Bill's life in Derry at all.
And I felt like I got a lot of closure. Like I said with Endgame, like there's so much closure and like fan service. Like they give these characters a really big send off, and I liked everyone's. I mean, Richie's was great. Bill's I thought I felt closure very well. Ben and Bev. Mike the most. Honestly, Mike, I was happy he got to leave.
Mike is by far, like, from the first to second movie, I love his arc the most of anyone. Like, I like the rest of them, but I like just how he stayed in the town. He remembered everything, and then kind of, even though when they were trying to leave, he was still, even though he might not have done it the most morally correct way, he kept them around and made them face the fears, and then he honestly kind of faced his own fears by leaving the town at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So that arc was kind of really cool to see.
Yeah, I like this movie. I think it's a good movie.
And I know you do. You like it, and I am obsessed with it. That's the main thing.
Yeah, and I don't even think it'll be on my top 10 of the year, honestly, because I think the first one I loved it, and it was only like 6th or 7th.
I'd have to look at all my stuff because I've seen a lot of fucking movies this year.
Yeah.
But it's probably gonna end up in my top 5. It's not gonna be number 1, but
it's very good. There's a lot of really good scenes and a lot of really good ideas. I'm trying to think, because I know I'm gonna think like, oh, there's something I missed, because I knew there was gonna.
This is my cheat sheet if you need to look. I wrote down a lot of things. It's not everything, but the more specific things are toward the bottom.
Yeah, no.
I think we covered a lot of it, though.
I think we covered pretty much all of it.
Because, I mean, the only other things, I think all of the different editing choices, all the shots were really beautiful. I can't really think of anything, like, technically especially, that didn't look amazing to me. I think it all looked really, really cool. Yeah, when they dove in a little bit more to, like, behind what Pennywise is as a being, I wish they would have went more into that, because there's a lot to go with.
Yeah, I wish too. That would have been cool.
Because that is some interesting stuff, and a lot of people don't realize that haven't read the novel and stuff like that. They don't know that Pennywise isn't just a monster clown that can also turn into other things.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally like this weird alien thing that like shot down from the sky like a meteor and just kind of just started causing havoc and stuff like that, and basically just feeding on humans in this little town.
Mm-hmm. And like, why did you choose a clown? I don't know that. I like the scene where I love the old lady scene, first of all. But when she's like, yeah, that's my father. My father's it. You know, I wanted more.
My favorite part of any of that is when the door opened and Bill Skarsgård with the makeup and stuff like that and like tearing his face.
Oh,
I thought that looked really cool too, and he just like made it even creepier than it even needed to be.
Oh, that's my point. The trailer was much better than the movie, I feel. I love the trailer when he's like, for 27 years I've dreamt of you, I've craved you, I've missed you, and he's like shaking, you can tell. And like, oh, it's so creepy, and all the images are really cool and everything. I just like the trailer more. And I wish I didn't see the fucking trailer, you know? But I showed it so many times on so many different platforms that I loved it so much that I kind of did watch it a few times because I liked it so much. I was so excited. And that's why I didn't see this movie until Monday.
I couldn't wait. I saw it twice. I saw it on Wednesday and Friday.
Well, I knew it was 3 hours long, so I was like, okay, I need a good solid time block. Plus a bunch of people said they wanted to see it. And then also I wanted to stay up. So like the 2 nights before, I stayed up to like 3 in the morning.
That's why I saw it at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday.
Yeah, so I would stay up. I wanted to be able to stay up. But I think I'd much rather prefer the director's cut where it's both of them and it's interlaced with it's constantly cutting from the kids to the adults.
I'm excited
because the kids parts, like, I'd much rather a version of the inverse of this movie where it's mostly the kids and then they kind of cut to the adults for a second and then they go back to the kids because I like the kids more. kids are much more interesting and compelling.
You want to know a little secret? There's actually a fairly well-known actor that's a kid in the miniseries.
Oh.
Seth Green.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. He is Richie.
Yeah, I can see him as Richie. I could see him definitely as Richie.
He's pretty fun in that movie, and they were actually talking about trying to get him for a cameo in this one. One thing that I'm not sure about, so when they see Ben's story, like when Mike's
Ben's
about
flashback,
when Mike's about to call, and like the boardroom scene.
Oh yeah.
And the first guy that they go to, that kind of looks like he'd be like an adult version of him, because they kind of like tease it a little bit. I am 90% sure that actor might be the same guy that played him in that as a kid. Like he's an adult
now. That'd
be
cool.
I think it may have been him. I could be completely wrong on that, but it looked like that same guy.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna have to look into that.
That would be cool, because just like with Eddie's mom, I love all that stuff.
Yeah, when I noticed that, when I said it to you, you hadn't really noticed it.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed it immediately, and I was like, damn, that's really funny. Because they especially in the novel, they make a joke of like, Eddie's in love with his mom, Eddie loves his mom, blah, blah, blah. So then he married someone that looks exactly like his mom, because it is the same person.
I love that. That was one of my favorite little tidbits. A lot of people complained. They were like, oh, it's more of a comedy than a horror movie. But even still, so it's not as scary, obviously. But I don't even think it's as funny.
Yeah, in some ways I can agree with that. But the same thing that happened with the first movie, everyone's like, oh, it's more of a coming-of-age movie than it is a horror movie. I'm like, it's both. But it's definitely still a horror movie. Yeah, first and foremost.
And I guess because the first one we had no expectations, we just went into it. But this one had so much hype, but like still, like iconic funny moments from the first movie. When he's Rock War and the placebo, they're fucking gazebos. And then, oh my gosh, my favorite, I don't think this is everyone's favorite joke, but it's definitely mine, is when he's like, it's in my second fanny pack. And he's like, why do you have two fanny packs?
Yeah. No, I love that stuff too.
The banter can you tell me what the iconic jokes from the memorable jokes in this movie would be?
It's pretty much everything Bill Hader says for the most part.
Yeah.
Like it's the stuff with him, like even when he got the call and everything like that, and was throwing up and then came in, and he's like, a glass of whiskey or whatever, and then it's right after the corner, he's like, that was fast, and they hand it to him. Like that's the kind of stuff that made me laugh in this movie, as well as everything in the Chinese restaurant.
It's funny.
My favorite comedic moment in this movie is in the Chinese restaurant with the kid saying that sinister type thing that Pennywise would say, and then he starts yelling at the kid. And the kid tells him it's from his act or whatever. But not even that. It's the part after that where one of them's like, Richie, you don't know your own material? He's like, I don't write my own material. And then Eddie's like, I knew it. That was by far the funniest moment that I laughed at really hard.
I was like, oh, I wish... So Richie's not even funny?
No, he definitely is, but it's just that's a major thing about comedy stuff. Mm-hmm. On television especially, there's a bunch of writers that the TV station hires for you.
Oh.
If you ever watch any of the Comedy Central roasts, unless they're really solid comedians, none of them are coming up with those jokes. They're reading off teleprompters.
Oh, that's no fun.
Sorry, I gave you a little bit of insight to that. But
Yeah, actually, it's funny. I've been watching some of the roasts recently. I watched like Justin Bieber's.
And they're great, and a lot of them are comedians that eventually become famous later.
A lot of them are just famous people.
No, but I'm talking about like they're like low level. They eventually become like a lot of people that are big now used to write on those roasts. Like John Mulaney, he used to be a writer on Saturday Night Live and all those roasts and stuff like that. And now he's like one of the biggest comedians in the entire world.
Oh, I love John Mulaney.
Yeah.
He's so funny.
But it's that kind of stuff, and it's like it made a lot of sense for that joke, and that's one of my favorite moments. Mm-hmm. And it's just the back and forth, especially between Richie and Eddie. Those are the funny moments in this movie. There are other moments that are laughing, giggling, little one-off jokes that are funny. But if you're looking for any of the comedy, even in the first one, it's those two all the time.
Oh yeah, one editing choice I really did not like is when what's his name? The sick guy throws up on Eddie, and then they just start blaring "Angel of the Morning," and I was this is great. But then they just stopped. They just did it they're like, just call me Angel of the Morning, and then that was it. And I was like, why?
He did that. That's one thing that they just do in these movies. Same thing as the New Kids on the Block poster in Ben's room in the first one.
Yeah, but it made sense. It was when they showed that poster. And then my favorite one is when they're cleaning the bathroom. and they have that whole scene where they played that song over it, and that makes sense because it's kind of like a montage. But here it was like a scary scene that they were just like, hey, you know this famous song that we're not even, like, it makes no sense. Like, we talk about New Kids on the Block many times in the first movie, so I get why they bring that up. Why did they bring up this song?
Because it's funny.
I was just like, oh, it's a song from Deadpool. For a second.
That's the first thing I thought about, too. If it would have played any longer, it would have been stupid. But I think
I would have rather it played.
I don't think it should have played any longer.
I just thought that was a weird choice.
It's definitely really strange, but I respected the thought of it being just so weird.
That's the thing. I do enjoy a good weird movie, so while I didn't think it was as scary, I thought the monsters were weird as all hell, and I appreciate that. Other than that, though, I'm going to wrap it up here because we're at 40 minutes. I think, just like I said, it has all the best parts of X-Men Days of Future Past. We're bringing the old and the new together. Great cast. I think all these characters are really fun and great, and all the interactions are amazing, and I think the performances are really good. But just like I said with Endgame, I feel like it's over-bloated, it's overly long, there's too much fan service, and it's not as focused and as tight as the first one. The antagonist isn't as good. Both of them aren't as good as they are in the first one. And this is less of a condemnation of this movie and more of a appreciation for the first one. I thought this movie was really good. I just thought the first movie was great. So for this new movie, It Chapter 2, I would say objectively, if I was an objective critic, I would say for general people, I'd be like, it's a 3 out of 5. You'll enjoy it. You'll have fun with it. It's a well-made movie. But as a fan of the first one who loves the first one, I enjoyed it a little bit more, so I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. And my score would be a 4 out of 5. Go ahead.
An objective rating for me, 4 out of 5.
But me, one is like a 10 out of 5.
For me, being a fan of the source material, I felt like they wrapped up the story as perfect as they possibly could without being too nerdy and just totally turning off the casual horror fans in general. And I just felt like they capped it off so well. Such a great cast. I wish they could have done maybe just a little bit more and kind of cleaned up some of those parts that I didn't necessarily love, but overall, characters development, phenomenal. Felt like the same people. In my rating, obviously, is a 5 out of 5.
All right, that's It Chapter 2. Wow, this is our longest review. That's nice.
I knew it would be.
Yeah, do you want to plug one more time?
So yeah, check out my YouTube channel, The Film Fan Reviews. It's on YouTube. Check out all my social medias. They'll all be on that page too, and yeah.
All right, well, thank you, Steve, for joining us. It's honestly, we've done more reviews, me and you. Lucas has been out of town. Lucas, we miss you so.
He will be back on Saturday, I believe.
Yeah, he told me that. Yeah, he'll be back on Saturday. But yeah, no, stay tuned. Next time we'll probably talk about, I don't know, but we will, and we'll be here. So thank you for watching, and thanks for floating with us.
Hell yeah, you'll float too.
All right, and goodbye. Boop, boop.